All right, welcome everyone to Bus Stop Boys. I'm Zach.
And I'm Zahran.
Welcome back. It's been a minute, but we're back to talk breaking news, movie reviews, and their recommendations.
Yeah, this weekly is becoming more of a monthly, but we'll make it work.
Sounds
We had
like work.
yeah,
Stand
yeah.
ups, and then it's like once a month, and then the project never gets done. But we're sticking to this.
We need like a sprint schedule kind of thing.
The only project manager, owner, and then I'll be the engineer. I'm just kidding.
There. Oh man. We'll see how things go. I think we'll
Yeah,
get a better cadence now that we have some like recent developments in our lives kind of end kind of thing. So pretty
you
nice.
do. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Oh man. Alrighty. So recent news. I think we're starting off with recent news, right?
Yeah, I think first let's talk about Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Are you in this? Have you been watching Star Wars Acolyte?
No, I haven't. But I have a lot of friends who are doing it.
Yeah.
Seems like I've heard different things about the show, so I'm curious to get your take.
There's been a lot of drama. There's been a
Yeah,
lot of
exactly.
yeah. So I mean, I'll start off by saying the writing isn't great of the show.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, just a background on where Star Wars is. So if you watched
Yeah.
episodes 1 through 9, it's kind of like encompasses like the Skywalker family, right? So 1 through 3 is like the Republic and how it falls and the Empire comes into place, and then 4 through 6 is the originals, right? Star Wars 1,
Yeah.
Empire Strikes Back, and what do you call it? A New Hope. I know A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. So where this takes place is 100 years before Episode 1. So this is called like the
Oh,
Republic era.
interesting. Okay, cool.
So it kind of approaches like it's old school, uh like the Republic at its like peak, like the strongest it's ever been before the downfall of episodes 1 through 3. So that's kind of like the background, and it's something that I've always wanted
Hmm.
to see in like picture.
Yeah.
And uh it's not the best, I will say, and maybe I'm being a little too forgiving for it. The writing isn't great on the show,
Yeah.
but it's really nice to explore this universe and see how the Jedi are before like the Sith really, like they really know of the Sith and what the dark side of the Force and everything like that.
Hmm.
So that's cool, like exploring that mystery. It's just it's not great is the best thing. It's
So,
very
so it sounds like it's
yeah.
worse than Mandalorian.
Definitely
Okay,
worse than
cool.
Mandalorian.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely one of the weaker TV shows that they've had. Maybe better than Obi-Wan, even though I love the character Obi-Wan. The actual show wasn't that great.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really hard because it's only been like 4 episodes too.
Yeah.
So it's just a very mediocre Star Wars show is the best way to put it. It's the Iron Fist of the Netflix Marvel shows if you watch those. It's very, very very mediocre.
Who
Now,
is the acolyte? Is it like a Jedi or
so they're twins. So they're
okay?
twins. They're people of color, just
Hmm.
which I'll get into later.
Right, I've
Um,
heard about this.
so yeah, and then they're in like a coven, a witch coven kind of thing.
Hmm.
Um, so it's cool. I like the acting isn't the best, honestly. The actresses are, I would say, like 6 out of 10, 5 out of 10 in terms of performance. Carrie Ann Moss is in it.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. And but the main Jedi, like the mentor Jedi, is really good. And which is pretty crazy because apparently this is his first like American English speaking role. But if anything were to come out of the
Well,
Acolyte, his performance, which let me look up what his name is. His performance has just been incredible, and like there's always a bright spot to every Star Wars, whether it's a good or bad thing. Like with the new sequels, it's Rey, the character who plays Rey. What's her name again too? I forgot her name.
Riley,
Daisy Ridley. Daisy
Daisy
Ridley.
Ridley. Yeah, yeah,
Daisy
there you
Ridley.
go.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then this one is Lee Jung Jae, Master Soul.
Okay.
This
I've
character.
seen him on the posters.
Oh,
Yeah.
he was the character from he's the guy from Squid Games. I had no idea. Wow.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it's the main character from Squid Games.
How did I know
Oh,
that?
that's so
Okay,
cool.
wait. Oh wow. Squid
Is it?
Game.
Wait, I just see. Yep, Squid Games.
Oh, he's like the main character.
Yep, yep, yep.
Oh, that's cool. That's
Yeah.
awesome. He's getting more roles. Yeah, I see his face now. It's definitely him.
And he's doing a great job. I think out of everything, like if he continues in the Star Wars universe, at least the Acolyte gave us something good, you know?
Yeah, is Yoda in this show?
Not yet. I don't know if he will,
Oh,
but he was
interesting.
definitely
Okay.
still he was alive during this period. So I
Great.
don't know if it's
Yeah.
like a young baby Yoda again. I don't know. Like it's a true baby Yoda. It's not Grogu, but
Right.
no, I think he's doing an amazing job, and like he's like the highlight of the show for sure. Carrie Ann Moss is in it, but her role has been pretty limited so far. 4 episodes in. But anyways, so mediocre show, not the worst, not the best. So you know, but now getting into it, there's been a lot of like, this is not my Star Wars. Like, I'm done with Star Wars after this because like they're breaking canon and all this stuff. And I'm like, and then they're like, oh, this show is too woke. Like, and so here's the thing. The cast is very, very diverse, right? But
Yeah.
it takes place in space. There's aliens, different people of
Right.
different cultures and
Yeah.
everything like that. So what I don't like I completely accept that this show is not that great. It's pretty mediocre. But when people are saying like, oh, Star Wars is being ruined by wokeness, I don't think there's a single thing in this show where I would be like, oh, it's woke, or
Yeah.
like it's just a diverse crowd. That's all it is.
Right.
It doesn't
Yeah, it
go
totally
into
is.
like, oh, this person's coming like because they're a minority or something, they're going through some rough times and stuff like that. There's nothing
Mhm.
like that. And there's not even a hint of that. The only thing I would say is probably like in the Witch's Coven, there's like hints of like two people being like maybe in a relationship among
Yeah.
witches, which
Yeah.
is I feel like if they're in a Witch's Coven, there's gonna be a couple of people.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So people complain like I hate that people are taking this and trying to make it seem like, oh, Star Wars is trying to be too woke when it's really not that. It's just it's a CW type of show that's taking place. And it's unfortunate that
Mm.
they spent $180 million on this show. So Disney, please cut down on your budgets. Don't worry about this wokeness stuff. Just make great shows and be
Right.
smarter with your money. I feel like that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Some other positives. Outside of the writing, which is terrible, and that's the thing. Like writing always ruins a show, no matter what everything else is. But production
Yeah.
value is very good.
Okay.
They're not using that volume thing that every Star Wars show used, where it looks like they're constricted in a small space. They're actually using live sets, which are nice.
Oh, cool.
The lightsabers are pretty cool. Apparently, they're using like full lightsabers instead of like small ones, so it's like a little thicker, and which is nice.
Mm.
Like, oh, this might be like the High Republic lightsaber kind of style and stuff like that. So yeah,
Okay. Got some
um,
lightsaber lore going.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
So good set pieces, good like designs, good. The money definitely did do its justice. It does feel like a premium show,
Yeah.
but it's just one, the actors aren't great besides the Squid Game guy,
Yeah.
and the writing has been pretty awful. But yeah, that's my
Gotcha.
rant on this whole anti-woke thing. Like I feel like they're just trying to use that as an excuse to say like, oh, Star Wars is being anti-woke. But anyways, I
Yeah.
don't know if
Focus
you,
on like the actual issues. What's funny about what you're saying about the writing? That was always the complaint about the prequels. That like the special effects are amazing, but then George Lucas's like writing was like kind of meh. Like the love story between like Anakin and Padme was like whatever. Like the writing was like really like kind of cringeworthy. Is that kind of what you're seeing here?
exactly. I think it's
Okay. Okay.
almost
Yeah.
like it's the not to get on this. I'm a huge Star Wars nerd, if you didn't know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so
I
I
can
grew
tell.
up with the prequels, right? So I think you did too, right? Like with the
Yeah.
prequels, Star Wars 1, 2,
Yeah.
3, and you loved them as a
Yeah.
kid, right? But they were
Of course.
hated by like adults and everything like that.
Right.
And everything people are saying about the Acolyte, people said about the prequels. They're like, oh, dude, I'm done with Star Wars at this point.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
right? Like, what are they doing? They're breaking the lore. What are these midichlorians and stuff? And I was just like, I don't know, man. These lightsaber fights are pretty awesome, man.
Yeah.
Um, And what's funny is it's cyclical because when the sequels came out, which was 7, 8, and 9, that was me. I was like, oh, well, 7 I liked episode 7, but 8 and
Yeah.
9 I was just like, what are they doing with Star Wars? Oh my god, this is terrible. Like, I don't even
Mm,
care about the universe anymore. But then they
yeah.
released something like Andor, which is incredible. And I'm like, oh,
Right.
this is great. This is amazing.
Gets you back in.
Yeah. Not to go on a rant, but yeah, it feels like it's cyclical. The hate's a little overblown. Star Wars might not be as popular as it was back then, but I think there's still a decent fan base, and like if they get good writers, good directors, they'll redeem themselves, and I think they'll become popular again because it's just like lightsabers are cool, man. Like that's what it's gonna be. Like when you're a kid, a lightsaber is gonna be awesome to look at, and that's how you're gonna get people to watch.
Well, I'm hopeful for Star Wars because I feel like Disney really torched their other franchises during the pandemic with all the subpar Disney Plus stuff.
Mhm.
Like Pixar had some movies that went straight to Disney Plus that were like okay. Marvel also had a lot of TV shows that were like not fully up to standard with
Mhm.
like the Marvel brand, and like now Marvel's like not doing as great. And we'll talk about Pixar later, but I feel like Star Wars didn't suffer that as much. Like, yes, there was a ninth movie that was like I think we both agree it was not that great. But
Yeah,
Andor is really good. So like at least the TV show like wasn't too bad, and people love the Mandalorian. So I'm hopeful for Star Wars.
yeah, me too. I think what was it, John Favreau? He's one of the heads. Like Mandalorian was the show to watch for Disney Plus, right? That was what
Yeah,
was getting people into this thing. Andor is one of the first, I feel like, Disney Plus movies where they're getting Emmy nominations. Where like, oh wow, they're making like they can make Star Wars into a prestige TV show because that's what Andor was. I
yeah.
wish like these writers are able to do something on their own. Like it's not so how do I put Star Wars on Disney Plus? Star Wars on Disney Plus has very highs, the highest of highs, but it does have some lows.
Yeah.
Mandalorian has been great, but the popularity has been waning. And the last season was a little like it felt like it was made by the marketing team, like the ideas
Sure.
for it, like but not bad. I still enjoyed it. Ahsoka I really liked, but it is a continuation of an animated show which I loved.
Hmm.
And the first half of the show is very mediocre, which led to a good second half of the show, but I think a lot of people tuned out of it.
Hmm.
Then there was a lot of like these little like like the Marvel what ifs, like anthology kind of different.
Hmm.
So they have this show called Star Wars Legends or Visions,
Oh,
and
okay.
what
I
they're
didn't know
doing
about this. Yeah.
is really cool. They're taking multiple animation companies, a lot of them like anime companies and stuff like that, and they're giving them like 10-15 minute storyboards where they discuss they create their own take on like Star Wars. So there's like
Oh,
a lot
cool.
of like watercolor style animation Star Wars shows. That's like the highest, like beautiful things. I really recommend a few of them. Um, but yeah, I think like what they need to do right now is find a consistent voice. And I think if they take Favreau, what's it called, Dave Filoni, and the creators of Andor, I think their trifecta, they can get something going where it's like a combined universe, which fans will enjoy and the mainstream audience will enjoy as well.
We gotta get this in front of Favreau and the people at Disney and Star Wars. I love this plan.
Kathleen Kennedy, if you're listening, I don't know. She's been around for a while. She's been there. I think a lot of people aren't huge fans of her anymore. I
Right.
think I am starting to agree with that now because it's like, this is such a valuable IP. You need like a consistent voice, and how are you going to do that? But yeah.
Speaking
Anyway,
of IP,
yeah.
we have a new Game of Thrones like
Segue.
TV
Nice
show.
segue.
Segue. Yeah, yeah. House of Dragon. How's that been? So I will say I did not watch Game of Thrones.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm like one of the few. I didn't watch a lot of television before the pandemic. After pandemic, I started watching a lot more TV. But before then, it was so. So like I never actually saw Thrones. But then everyone did, and so the IP is pretty valuable. And so we have House of Dragon. I think this is season 2 that just came out. Um, So I want to hear more about this. It's a whole season drop. It's just like one at a time. Okay, it's one at a time. Okay, what's your initial reaction?
Loved it. So
Oh,
I
awesome,
mean,
cool.
I guess I'll start. I'm a huge Game of Thrones last two season hater. Like
Right.
it made me completely lose any hope in Game of Thrones, and I was just like, "Ugh, I don't want to continue this anymore. You guys burned me too much. Like it was
Yeah.
just that bad of an ending. You know what? Actually, there's a lot of parallels between Game of Thrones, the ending of Game of Thrones, and what's it called? And Star Wars. Like
Right.
7, 8, 9, I absolutely despised. I despise
Yeah.
them. Not to bring this back to Star Wars. Oh my god. Okay, I need to I'll get this quick rant out of the way.
Yeah, no, go
Seven,
for
eight,
it.
9 was something I always hoped for, and I thought I would really, really love.
Mhm.
They brought back the original characters and everything like that. It's just the way they treated those characters was so bad and so like
Mm.
just depressing that I was just like, oh my god. And this is the last time you'll see these people on screen because they're old. I mean, what's it called? Princess Leia, what's her name?
Yeah, Carrie Fisher. She
Carrie
died
Fisher
like
passed away.
during. Yeah, she passed away while I was filming. Yeah.
Yeah, so like it's just disappointing that like that is how like you can't bring them back anymore, like this is it. This is their story.
Yeah.
And you know what's sad to say, like, and I feel like those terrible nerds like, oh, it's not my story no more. It's not canon to me. Like 7, 8, 9 is not canon to me. For me, like
Wow.
yeah.
Okay. It's a hot take. I'm liking this.
Yeah. What's canon to me is what do you call it? The Thrawn trilogy. This was made by wow, why am I forgetting his name? It's called Heir to the Empire. That's what it explores the Thrawn Timothy Zahn. Yeah, Timothy Zahn. That's his name. That was the
Okay.
author who directed the Thrawn trilogy, who are in Ahsoka, and that's why I love the second half of Ahsoka, by the way, because it looks like they're trying to bring Thrawn in and
Oh,
kind of do
cool.
its own kind of storyline with the Rebels animated shows cast. Which you know what? That's what I'm really excited about in Star Wars now. But anyways, so Heir to the Empire is like the Thrawn trilogy. It's this guy who was one of the top generals for the Empire, and
Mm.
he's a lot more. He's a smart person. Like he's like very
Mm.
whatever. He's extremely
Meticulous.
smart.
Yeah.
He's like a military strategist. Like and he's the reason like the Empire was doing so well, and the reason the Empire failed in
Oh.
4, 5, 6 is how they explain like he wanted something else, but the Emperor, because of his pride and like the dark side, was the reason why they failed. So it kind of explores how he tries to rebuild the
Mm.
Empire and go up against Luke and Leia and all of them as well. So
Mm.
amazing storyline.
Go.
And that's kind of what I really hoped they made, but they didn't. And they made a much more miserable, sad storyline at the end of the day,
Yeah.
which was at the end of the day poorly written. They can make something sad, but if it's well written, I'd be like, oh, it's fine. But it was poorly written and it was depressing. So it's just there's no
The
like
last movie felt like it was going through the motions. Like,
yeah.
here's scene A, here's scene B, and then here's the finale. Hope you enjoyed your popcorn.
Exactly. It's so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very depressing. But anyway, so that's how I felt about Game of Thrones.
Right.
Long-winded
Bring
with
it back.
Game of
Yeah.
Thrones. Yeah. Very disappointing ending and left such a bad taste in my mouth. I was like, how am I gonna ever enjoy this again? And it's like, oh, they got us to enjoy it again. I mean, it takes place 100 years in the past, like way before, what takes place in Game of Thrones. But
Yeah.
the way they explore it, it's so good and it's so disconnected from the original Game of Thrones that you can just enjoy it as a bubble and be like, yo, this is its own show, and the writing's beautiful, like the action, the budget for these dragons are great. The score once again hits it out of the park. What is his
Yes.
name? Ramin Djawadi.
Oh, that guy's awesome. Westworld.
Yes,
And
Westworld. Yep.
yeah, I
Yeah.
love the Westworld soundtrack.
Yep. He knocks it out of the park once again. And I think Game of Thrones is what made him famous, by the way.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, but so yeah, I think they're really redeeming themselves, and if they were to ever recreate the last two seasons again, it would be pretty awesome for them to do so with this cast, like this whoever these showrunners are over D&D, who I look like they wanted to rush out and make Three Body Problem instead.
And we saw how that went.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that about this new show. Is like you don't necessarily have to see the old Thrones to still enjoy House of Dragon.
Yeah, in fact, you can probably watch this and then go into Game of Thrones because it's actually a prequel.
Yeah, we'll talk about it in a second, but that's how I feel about Furiosa. Like,
Okay.
we'll talk about if it's good or bad or not. But then I watched Mad Max Fury Road a couple days after Furiosa, and wow, it's like now I have a totally different view of that movie.
Yeah. Do we have any recent news? We can go. Box office. But I guess box office is gonna go into what we're talking about right now. So let me bring up top of the list
Yeah.
this past week.
Yeah, for box office, I think Inside Out 2 just crushed it. I think they had the biggest opening of the year.
Yep. So starting off, I guess you want to go through top 5.
Yeah, sure, let's do it.
All right. So number 5 was If. I didn't watch
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Did not watch it.
3 million. It's made 173 million worldwide so far. Then there's Garfield, which made 4.7 million. They're at $217 million worldwide so far. We have Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes made 5.5 mil, and it has 375 estimated 375 million worldwide so far. Then we got Bad Boys Ride or Die with 33 million and 215 worldwide. That's only in the second week as well. And then the big one we have Inside Out 2, 154 million domestic, almost 300 million worldwide.
Wow. Holy
Incredible performance. Like this is like Barbie level performance that it's doing. And I mean, thank God, man. Like Pixar needed a win. I know you watched it, so if you want to talk about it and everything.
Yeah, that's a good segue. First, a question to you: did you like Inside Out, the original from like almost 10 years ago?
Yes, I enjoyed it.
Okay,
I watched it casually, like on the side, not on the side, but like just at the living room. I didn't go into theaters and watched it, but I enjoyed it for the most part.
Yeah, I thought it was okay. I thought it was very aimed at kids, and so like I feel like I didn't enjoy it as much, which is kind of a contrarian opinion. With this movie, the main character, Riley, she's now like a little bit older. She's still living in San Francisco, but she's going away and trying out for the high school hockey team. And so now it introduces a whole new set of emotions that come in when you become like a teenager, including anxiety and boredom and jealousy. I think is like a new emotion as well. So basically the story is about all these new emotions. They kick out the old emotions, they're kind of sent all into exile. And so they have to find their way back into like the main control room, which is kind of similar to the story, I think, of Inside Out, the original movie. But things I liked about this movie include they do a really good job visualizing what character is. There's like this like a neat like visualization about how Riley conceives of herself, like I'm a good person and I care about my friends. But then she kind of checks that out when she goes to the hockey camp, and instead now she's more about do I fit in? Can I make new friends? Who cares about the old friends? Which I think we all can relate to at some point or another. So I really like that part. I like the new voices. I think Maya Hawke is anxiety, which like I think we all have to balance anxiety in one way or another. So this movie talks about that, which is like a pretty universal experience. In terms of like small nitpicks, I will say, and I'm not saying that like wokeness destroyed this movie or anything like that, but it is like I love it. It's like interesting that there's like a whole hockey camp in the Bay Area. I think you and I lived in San Francisco, and I texted people in a group chat, and I don't think hockey is a common pastime there. So I thought that was interesting. And I don't think there's this huge like all girls like hockey camp that goes on all the time. But anyways, like those small things aside, it would have been cool if it was basketball because women's basketball is having such a big moment right now. That would have been such a cool opportunity as a women's basketball movie and to have the emotions play a part of it. That would have been super awesome. But yeah, I pulled up all the Pixar sequels, like second movies. So that's Toy Story 2, Cars 2, Incredibles 2, Inside Out 2, and then also Finding Dory and Monsters University. I haven't seen all those, but I think Inside Out 2 might be the second best on that list. Like that might be a hot take, but it's not as good as Toy Story 2 because that's just like one of the goats. But is it better than Incredibles 2 and Cars 2? Like it might be. Like what do you think? Did you like those
It's
movies
definitely
or?
better than Cars 2. You don't even. I didn't. I
Oh,
haven't
okay,
even watched
okay,
it.
cool.
I haven't even watched it.
Yeah,
And I already know it's better than
yeah,
Cars 2.
yeah.
You're right. Toy Story 2 is definitely the bar. I would actually put Incredibles 2 up there too. I
Okay,
think they did a
yeah,
really good job with the second movie. Um, and I haven't watched it, so I can't really tell.
yeah.
Monster University was pretty good too. Like, what else did you say? Finding Dory.
Finding Dory. I never saw that one.
Finding Dory wasn't bad.
Yeah. Okay.
I would say outside, you're right, because outside of, I wouldn't even call you like, I think your opinion is probably gonna be pretty popular because Toy Story 2 was pretty good, but it's pretty old at this point. And
Yeah.
then Incredibles 2 was pretty good, but it wasn't really as popular as what Inside Out is turning out to be. And like
Yeah.
the reception that Inside Out 2 has been getting has been pretty cool. I'll be probably watching it tomorrow, but good to know
Yeah,
it's
let me know if you like it. I liked Incredibles when I saw it, but then now years later, I don't remember anything about that movie as much.
Mhm,
Incredibles, I remember. I mean, I've seen it a bunch of times,
mhm.
but I think it's possible this movie ends up like being like one of the better sequels Pixar's put out, and clearly the box office numbers reflect that.
Nice, nice. I actually like that they're so it looks like what their goal with this was like it's growing with the audience, right? So kids
Yeah,
who watched Inside Out when it came out, they're gonna probably be like high schoolers or college student people when Inside Out 2 came out, right? So it's growing with the audience, and I think the people who loved Inside Out 1, they're gonna love this too. And I think that's what the box office is showing. It's like, hey, like
yeah,
this will probably get a new audience, but it'll also get those people who are, becoming like young adults. They're like, oh wow, like this thing I watched as a child, it's getting a sequel now. Let's all go and watch it. It's like an event. And I think that's what
yeah,
that's what theaters need. They need events like this. And,
yes,
keep them alive with this. Like I think the last time we had this kind of, you know, huge reception to a movie was Dune 2. Before that, there's been a lot of box office disappointments lately. Um,
yeah. And we'll talk about one of them next, which is Furiosa. But I think it's
Mhm.
nice that this movie is like a sequel and not a prequel, because I think with sequels, people are like they already know the story and they're curious what happens next. Prequels, I feel like have a ceiling.
Yep, yep,
it's
yep.
like it's like you already know what's happening, and then like usually it's just character development. So like it may or may not be interesting, but we'll talk about that in a second.
Uh,
But yeah, overall, Inside Out 2, 4 or 5. I think it's a solid Pixar sequel, and it's what the industry and Pixar needs.
yeah, yeah. Actually, to go into this, actually, not to delve deeper,
Yeah,
do you like Pixar has been going through a little rough patch lately, right? I would
yeah,
say, I would say like rough patch in the sense of box office wise. I think the quality of the movies haven't really dropped. Um, I th- uh, I think Elemental was like it turned out to be pretty profitable, but the opening start wasn't like the big
right.
hoopla that people expected. It just had really, really good legs because of you know low initial turnout, but then good word of mouth got it to have like really good legs and turn out to be profitable at the end of the day. But this
Yeah,
is like a smash blockbuster hit that they haven't had in a while. And I think a large reason for that is that Disney made a huge, huge, huge mistake putting like Turning Red, was it Luca, and I
yeah.
think what was the other one? Was it Soul or
Soul was also straight to streaming.
yeah, they put all of them straight to streaming. And I think it was like not Bob Iger, but Bob Chapek,
Bob Paycheck.
Paycheck.
That
That's a
is
good one.
that's a joke. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, that's a good one. But
yeah,
what he was trying to really boost Disney Plus, right? And during COVID, he was like, all right, let's just put all these into Disney Plus. So then more people will, tune in, but it backfired at the end. And not only did it backfire, it also led to, I think there's layoffs in Pixar because of his mistakes I guess at the end of the day,
yeah,
because I really feel like they either should have waited until like all these theaters opened up, or they should have just released it then or something like that. Maybe not released it then because of how bad um, the box office. The box office would have been, but I think they definitely should have waited and then released them in theaters later, at least for those animators' sakes. But it is what it is, you know. I think this is the shot in the arm that, you know, Pixar needed, and hopefully they're rejuvenated and continue to crank out these amazing movies that they always do.
Yeah, I think a couple of those movies, especially Turning Red and Luca, I think really got hurt by going straight to streaming. Because I thought those were solid movies, but then I'm not sure how many people saw them. Maybe just didn't take it as seriously because they're like, oh, it's just like another anime movie that's on streaming.
Yep.
So I think those movies especially got hurt by just going straight to Disney Plus and not getting a proper theatrical release.
Yep. Yeah, it's very disappointing, and I think like it's also messing with our thoughts of the box, like theaters, right? It's like, I'll talk about it later, but if you want to go into Furiosa right now.
Yeah, and then really quick, I'm just looking at like the list of Pixar movies. I think after Incredibles 2, it was Toy Story 4, Onward, Soul, Luca, Turning Red, Lightyear, Elemental, and then Inside Out 2.
Oh yeah, Lightyear was disappointing. I got really bored watching it.
I didn't see it, which says a lot. Yeah, I think Inside Out 2 again is like kind of like towards the top of that list of like post Coco movies. So I think, like you said, this is what Pixar needed.
No, agreed. Wow, I completely forgot Lightyear existed, and I watched like half of it. Oh man, oh that's a bummer. But
yeah,
it seemed like a bad idea from the beginning. Not gonna lie. But
that's the vibe I was getting.
But yeah, okay, Furiosa. Tell me more about it. Let me see what your thoughts are.
So Furiosa. So much marketing and a lot of pressure is put on this movie. So this movie is about one of the main characters in Fury Road, Furiosa. And in Fury Road, she's like breaking out all the wives, Immortan Joe's wives, from their like hangouts in the Citadel, or I guess their jail almost. And so it takes the backstory of Furiosa, where basically she grew up in like a woman-dominated colony, which lived in like this green, luscious island of plants and stuff in Australia. And she's kidnapped by a bunch of gangsters who end up bringing her to a character played by Chris Hemsworth called Dementis. And Dementis has a whole gang of bike riders and gangsters, and they try and take over the Citadel, which is like a colony run by Immortan Joe, who's the bad guy in Fury Road. And basically, there's like this 30-minute sequence that explains all this, which I think they probably could have cut out to make the movie a little bit leaner. It's like 2.5 hours. Didn't quite know his backstory. It's not even related directly to Furiosa. But basically, eventually, Furiosa gets dealt to Immortan Joe. And then she kind of goes in disguise as a truck mechanic in order to survive in Immortan Joe's colony. And eventually tries to escape. She makes a friend called Praetorian Jack. And there's basically a bunch of like attack sequences. She eventually goes back to the Citadel, and it leads directly into Mad Max Fury Road. So this is like, again, a true prequel. Here's what I really like about this movie, and this is really unexpected, and I'm not sure that people have felt this way. Because this movie ends right at Fury Road, I've rewatched Fury Road, and initially, when I saw Fury Road like 10 years ago, I thought it was a good movie. I thought it was like, good action, whatever. But this like prequel does a good job explaining who everyone is. Like it holds your hand and says, hey, this is the dad. Here's the son. Here's like the banker. Here's like this other person, what they do. And that makes it like a worse movie. But then when you watch Fury Road, now you know what's happening. Like now you know who all the characters are. Because when I watched it 10 years ago, I felt like I was just like, what is going on here? I don't know who these people are. Like, cool, there's like, like action and stuff, but like that's fine. But now that you know who the characters are, it's totally changed my perception of that movie. And now I think Fury Road is actually like right there below The Matrix in terms of like stylized action movies.
Wow.
Like I've never watched a movie for like the second time. It had its rankings change so much as I had with Fury Road after watching Furiosa. So I would say, like, if you're willing to do like the 1-2 punch, like watch Furiosa and then Fury Road again, that is super rewarding. So like, I think Furiosa is like maybe a 3.5, maybe 4 or 5, but then if you rewatch Fury Road, it's like a 10 of 10 experience. Like I was really blown away how good that movie was after I rewatched it.
Nice. Well, that's good to know because Fury Road is like a 9 out of 10 for me. So
Okay,
probably
cool.
watching this will make it a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why I didn't watch it, and I think like going into poor box office performances, like
Yeah.
the polar opposite of Inside Out 2, is like this. It's like, I know it's going to be a great movie. Like the casting, the director, everything is great about this, right? But it's like, oh my God, I just don't care. Like, just give me more of like what's going to happen after Fury Road. I understand
Yeah.
like the world is crap. Like, crap stuff happened to you guys. But like, come on, just make a better just make a sequel. I don't need any more prequels in my life.
Yeah.
That's
That's
what I
totally bad
really
because yeah, and like when I was rewatching Fury Road, it didn't occur to me that the next movie should be a prequel. If anything, maybe a prequel about Mad Max because he kind of comes out of nowhere as this guy whose kid died.
Mhm,
So I'm kind of curious about his story,
mhm,
less so than Furiosa's story, because I thought they explained enough of her story in like Fury Road movie. So
mhm.
like I'm kind of curious why they chose to do the Furiosa backstory because again, I think the Mad Max would be more interesting. And yeah, like you said, I think sequels, there's just more unknowns about what will happen next.
Yeah,
With the prequel, like, you know exactly what's going to happen. And sure enough, Furiosa ends right as Fury Road begins. So the real value is just deeper understanding who the characters are in Fury Road. Like, it just makes that movie better. This movie itself is like, it's a lot of the same. It's a lot of the same, like action
mhm,
sequences, you kind of know like what the deal is, and yeah, like I love Charlize Theron as Furiosa in
right.
Fury Road. Like I feel like that's her character, and so much love to Anya Taylor-Joy, but like it's just not the same.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah.
don't see her as like quite the action star. She's not the same like tormented like
Mhm,
actress that like Charlize Theron can pull off. So that's
mhm.
another issue for this movie is I like Anya Taylor-Joy, but this is
Not the
Charlize Theron's
same.
character.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I 100% agree with you there. Like, I think she's just not at that same level, unfortunately. And she's a
Yeah.
great actress, though. She is definitely a great actress. But
She's awesome.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, damn, like they could have made a sequel to Fury Road with Charlize Theron and oh wait, never mind. I'm not gonna say anything. But like they could make a sequel to like Fury Road and like it would have been amazing. But having this prequel just feels like I don't know. I'm definitely gonna watch it. I'm not criticizing that. It's just like it would have been nice. I feel like the resources for this movie would have been better served for like a sequel rather than a prequel. But from
Yeah.
what it sounds like from you is that it would have been really cool if they first released this movie and then released
Yes.
Fury Road. And I think it would have been great for the box office thing too. Been like, hey, from the Mad Max
Yeah.
universe, returning back to the Mad Max universe, we're have this story about Furiosa. And then it will be a return to Mad Max and where Matt, like, and then have Tom Hardy, Nicholas Holt, they're bigger stars now than they were back then. So it'd have been cool, like, to have that be like the finale or, like something to get people rejuvenated back into the thing. And it is kind of what they did
Yeah.
with Split, which surprisingly also has Anya Taylor-Joy. Is that do you watch Split, by the way, back in the past?
No, no. What is Split?
Okay. Oh, my bad. It's an M. Night Shyamalan movie. Um,
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay,
yeah.
cool.
Did you watch
I haven't seen it, but no.
Did you watch
Thanks.
Unbreakable? M. Night
Is
Shyamalan as
that
well.
the one with Samuel Jackson?
Yes, yes, yes. And
Okay,
Bruce
cool.
Willis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 I did. Yeah.
So when watching it in theaters, I wanted to it pretty blind, and they said, and it has Anya Taylor-Joy and the new Professor X, um, James McAvoy. He was the
Yeah.
he was the
He has
villain.
he does a lot of
In
movies with
that
M.
game.
Night Shyamalan.
Yeah, yeah, he does.
Yeah.
So he's the main, like, he's like the villain, and he turns out to be like someone with multiple personality disorder,
Yeah.
but he also has superpowers.
Looking this up. Yep.
Yeah. It's an amazing movie, by the way. You should definitely give it a watch. And Anya
Okay.
Taylor-Joy's in it, and she's kind of like the protagonist of the movie. So it goes through, and and then you
Oh.
find out. I feel bad for spoiling it right now, but uh,
Okay, no, I've seen Glass. So Glass is the really old movie.
Glass came out
With
right after
Bruce.
Split.
Unbreakable is the first one, right?
Yes, yes, yeah.
That's like Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson. And then these two movies like form a trilogy. Just that
Yes,
movie.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Okay, so it's not a
Okay.
spoiler. Okay,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it was the M. Night Shyamalan twist of this movie was that, oh, they show Bruce Willis like with his, you know, trench coat, just like, oh wow, you know, he's gonna be the villain to Unbreakable's Bruce Willis. Like James McAvoy is gonna be the villain to
Oh, I see.
what do you call it? In
Okay.
from Split is gonna be the villain for Unbreakable's Bruce Willis, basically. So that was really cool.
Cool.
And you know, it was a great
Yeah.
way to like transition into a third movie. And I feel like this would have been a cool way to do it for Fury Road and Furiosa. But it is
Yeah.
what it is. It's
Yeah.
probably
It is
still
what
a
it
great
is.
movie.
Yeah. What sucks is like, I don't know. Like, will there be another Mad Max movie? We'll see. Like,
Yeah,
this was a lot of movie down the drain, a lot of money down the drain.
yeah.
So
If there is, it'll be definitely not the budget that he wants. I will definitely give it a watch, but that's what I'm sad about. I feel like he's not going to get that budget for his big Mad Max movie he's probably trying to make in the future. But you know what? Let's see. Maybe Apple TV will give him a crap ton just to put it on their streaming service, the same way they
yeah.
did for like Napoleon and all those other movies. What was it? Killers of the Flower Moon as well. So hopefully they do that.
Yeah, I wonder who's older, Scorsese or George Miller. So George Miller is 79, and then Scorsese is 81. Okay, so they're like the same age.
Oh wow!
So I'm hoping this will have more
That's like our
movies in
election.
them. Yeah, I know exactly. George Miller, I found out he was actually a doctor for 7 years and then became a movie maker. So this
Wow.
guy is really smart, but like he had a whole career
Yeah.
before he went into movies in medicine, and then he
Yeah.
became a movie maker. And now he's making lots of movies, but yeah, now he's 79. So.
Same thing with the guy from Community and The
Oh
Hangover.
no, wait, Kevin
Yeah.
Hale? Oh
No,
no,
Chang.
Ken Jeong.
Ken Jeong. Yeah.
Yeah, no, Ken Jeong grew up 20 minutes away from North Carolina, which is very random.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
North
he went
Carolina
to Duke.
Pride.
Yeah. I don't know what prompted him to become an actor, but he's very funny, so I'm glad he did that.
That's awesome. That's actually great. I wish I could do that kind of career change somehow.
Not too late.
Oh yeah, because he was pretty old when he switched over, right?
Yeah, I think Ken Jeong and George Miller were probably in their early 30s when they switched.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, speaking of movies, also box office disappointments. I watched Fall Guy, which was
Fall Guy.
incredibly funny. Ryan Gosling doing Ryan Gosling's thing. Emily Blunt also being pretty great.
Oh, what's the Ryan Reynolds movie? Isn't there like a one with the same title or something?
Oh, Free Guy.
Free Guy. Okay.
Oh wow,
in my head, I keep confusing those two movies.
Yeah.
Fall Guy is the Ryan Gosling movie. Okay,
Yeah,
proceed.
Yeah. Great movie. I think it had pretty awesome action, good performances from Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt, and the woman from Ted Lasso's in it too, who's the owner of the team. I forgot the actress's name, but she also did a great job. Solid, like, you know, date movie / like popcorn flick, something that you'll definitely see on TNT in the future, you know, just like on repeat before basketball. Well, not anymore on basketball anymore, but
RIP.
Stupid Zaslav, man. But anyways, great. I think it's a movie that if it came out like before COVID would have made bonkers money, maybe even close to you know, like $700 million or something like that. But we're not in that era anymore. And I think it's because of this whole streaming service thing where people are like, this is a movie I'll watch I'll watch at home later. This isn't an event movie. And that's what the box office is turning out to be with this, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, Furiosa. Like all these movies, like if they came out pre-pandemic, they would have made bonkers money. But nowadays, like people are like, I think I can stay home and watch this later. Which goes to my thing saying these streaming services need to push their release window back. Like I know it sucks, but like they should make it like 6 months minimum, I think, at least, maybe even like 8 months or something. Because right now it's just like no one's gonna go watch these movies, and it's kind of sad because it's leading to like less and less, it's going to lead to smaller and smaller budgets, less and less showtimes. Everything's just going to be like the latest, Marvel movie or Star Wars movie. It's not going to be, something that people like, something that other people want to watch. And yeah, it's because like, it's unfortunate because like during COVID, it's like people realize like, oh, I don't really want to go to the theaters that much anymore. I can watch everything at home now. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't have to take the three kids out for three kids out for 5 tickets of movies, and then eat overpriced food somewhere. It's like, oh, I can just cook at home and then throw on something, on my 75-inch TV and stuff. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, and like when it goes so quickly to streaming, if you did go to theaters, it's like, wait, why did I just spend $100 to send my family to go see this movie? I could just, waited a week and then seen it on Netflix or wherever. So like, yeah, that doesn't feel good. And then yeah, with like Fall Guy, I never saw it. It was always on my list. It's like, oh, date night movie if I need it. But I never felt that urgent. So like it just never happened. And then I did see Inside 2 of my girlfriend. But like, see, that's like a movie like, like, let's go see it. It's like opening weekend, we gotta go see it. Like, let's make it happen. There's like much more urgency. But Fall Guy would just never reach that level.
Yeah, it's not the type, like it would have been in the past, but not anymore. Now it's just like, there's 1,000 movies like this nowadays. It feels like there's like 5 of them on Netflix right now. I think like something similar came out on Netflix. It was like Hitman with Glenn Powell.
Yeah, which is also I think in theaters a little bit, which is kind of weird. Yeah, I don't understand that process. But
oh no, you're in the city. You probably saw it in the Netflix. You saw probably a sign in the Netflix theater kind of thing that they have, possibly.
Yeah.
Was it by Central Park?
Like, yeah, but like I'm looking it up like right now. Like there are showtimes in Williamsburg, also like Regal Union Square, Alamo Draft House for Hitman.
Oh,
but
very cool.
It's not in AMC theaters, but like it is getting like a limited release. Even though it's also on Netflix, right? You can just watch it on Netflix. Okay, cool.
Interesting. Okay, I didn't know that. But yeah, it feels like a movie needs to hit that zeitgeist where people go like, oh, we have to go watch it. The same thing you said about Inside Out 2, right? Like, if it doesn't have that, people aren't just going to casually go like, oh, what's in theaters today? Oh, Hitman or Fall Guy. Like, let me just go watch it. And it feels like, like superstar actors alone aren't going to make people go watch a movie. That's what it feels like. But
yeah, I know you want to talk about that. Do you have anything else to say about superstar actors and their draw or lack of draw?
Yeah, so I think we'll go into this later, but I feel like we need to get a tier system. Maybe we do like a episode where like we go through like the tiers of actors, because I thought Ryan Gosling would be someone that people go watch regardless of who the person is, or maybe that doesn't exist anymore. Like, back in the day it did exist, right? It's like, oh, I'm gonna go watch the latest Tom Cruise movie. I'm gonna go watch the latest Leo movie and stuff like that. Nowadays it feels like you need a lot more things than just the actor to make something work. I think he is still like in the top tier of actors right now. Like him, Brad Pitt, Leo, Glenn Powell, I guess, is probably in that level right now.
Timothy Chalamet.
Austin Butler. Timothy Chalamet. Like, if you have to have Ryan Reynolds, you have to have one of them for your movie to excel to that next level, it feels like. But them alone isn't going to attract people to seats, or a lot of seats, like a significant to make it profitable.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I did see challengers in part because Zendaya was in it, and I was excited to see like, can she make a good movie? What does it look like? So like, I think there is some element of it, but I think also you need a little bit of like unpredictability. Like with Fall Guy, I was like, I know exactly what this is. With Furiosa, like you said, you knew exactly what that was. It's harder to justify it. With Challengers, I was like, tennis movie. There's also like a love triangle. Like I like it seemed at least a little bit different. So I was curious enough to like pull the trigger. But if there's no like mystery there, then I think it's hard for people to like make the effort to go see it in theaters.
And I know this might sound a little pretentious, but I feel like I'm way more attracted to the director of a movie than the actor of a movie. I feel like I have directors who I'm like, oh, he's directing the movie, I'm gonna go watch it. like Alex
Yeah.
Garland, Denny Villeneuve, and Christopher Nolan, like
Yep.
Scorsese, Spielberg. Like I can name numerous directors. Like if I knew that they're directing a movie, I'm like, I'm gonna go watch it. But I don't think I can name 5 actors. I don't think I can name 3 actors who, if I know they're in a movie, I'll be like, I'm definitely gonna go watch it. There's gonna have to be other things involved for me to just be like, oh, you know what, I'll go watch it because this person's in it. Plus, you know, it has a good writer, or it has a good plot, or something like that. I need multiple things. But
Yeah. Yeah. That's totally fair. What's interesting, I did see, do we talk about this? I did see the new Planet of the Apes movie.
oh, you did? Yeah.
Yeah. So like that was a case where I was with some family in Georgia and we're just like, what's in theaters? Oh, the Apes movie's in theaters. Let's go see it. I liked it in part because my expectations were very low. Because, like you said, it didn't have a name brand director. It didn't really have any famous people in it either. Like Andy Serkis is no longer like in the films.
Mhm.
He was doing motion capture for the original
No.
films. In these new movies, like it's just all CGI. But there's some cool world building in it, and there's an interesting cliffhanger at the end, which makes me want to like keep going and see where this franchise goes. But yeah, I think a lot of people didn't watch the movie either, just because it didn't have a director or actor combo.
Yeah. I'm definitely gonna watch that in the future. I think,
Nice.
man, my A list is just being wasted right now. I wanted to go watch a
Oh
ton of
man.
movies. Yeah, like I wanted to watch Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I wanted to watch Godzilla versus Kong, Furiosa. Just haven't had time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm definitely also, if anyone's, for the people listening, we will be having a summer blockbuster ranking episode.
Yes.
It's not going to be your regular live